Isagi Yoichi is not Isagi Yoichi anymore. This time around, he was born with a brother by the name of Chigiri, or Hyomo Chigiri. And them two would end up being some of the best football players anybody has ever seen in club football or even in high school football. Everybody would be completely taken back by the speed of the duo, but Chigiri, I will, just to make it clear, I'll be calling Chigiri, and I'll probably still call Isagi, just for simple stance of it. But yeah, so Chigiri is more known as that speedster, someone that is extremely hard to stop, someone extremely talented, seemingly genetically gifted, far better than anyone else. Isagi does have those genetic gifts as well in terms of speed, but he's just not as fast as Chigiri, just not entirely. He's definitely had to work harder than Chigiri ever has, but there's one thing he has over his brother, and that's his mind. His way he sees the game and the way he can really make out what's going on. During this time, Isagi and Chigiri would see great growth between the both of them, and Chigiri would be exceeding expectations and would be kind of famous in Japan, at least getting to the point of being famous in Japan. They would team up in high school with not only the brothers, but also another brother duo by the name of the Wanama twins. And the Wanama twins, they would be extremely dynamic, especially on the team of Isagi and Chigiri. But early on in his high school career, or Chigiri's high school career, he would actually get injured, tearing his ACL and having to go through a giant rehab process that he felt he would never get through. And frankly, there's times that he really felt that he was never going to get through it. But luckily enough, his brother was right next to him, right beside him, still training, still working, and still on his brother about coming back, about being the best, and about joining him once again and continuing their duo of being the greatest strikers in Japan. Isagi would tell him that it doesn't matter that he got hurt, that he'll get through it, he'll power through it, and he'll overcome this hurdle just like they've overcome every hurdle in their life. Chigiri would hear this and he would be inspired, even with the Wanama twins bringing him down and dealing with his injury throughout this time. He would find some solace in his brother. The Wanama twins may make fun of him, may say that he'll never be a football player again, he'll never be good ever again, but luckily enough, his brother's there. His brother is there to back him up. Isagi is there to back him up. So once all of this is said and done, and once the true beginning of their journey begins, Chigiri is relying heavily on his brother. And on top of that, he trusts that he can make not only a full recovery, but he can get back into his own mojo and become the greatest striker alive. And that chance and that idea would be tested very quickly, especially when they get a letter that would change their world and everything forever. Both Isagi and Chigiri would head off to go to this training camp. But when they arrive, whatever this training camp so-called is, it's not what they necessarily expected. When they walk in, they see a ton of people. And when I mean a ton of people, I mean a ton of people. Because a lot of those people are all strikers. Most, if not all of them, are main strikers and are known to be strikers. So they're kind of confused. Like, who are these people? Why are they here? What's going on? Like, what's even happening? And those questions would eventually be answered, especially when they wait and they look toward the one and only Jinpachi Ego. Jinpachi Ego says it all and sums it all up very quickly. And he begins to explain that there is one thing and the one reason why they're all here: to become the greatest striker. And there's various ways to become that But this is the way that Japan will create the greatest striker to ever live, the greatest striker that they need to win the World Cup. For starters, he begins to list off names of amazing players, people like Ronaldo, Messi, and continues on, but then uses an example of someone with an ego, saying that a true striker, someone that is truly the best striker in the world, well, they need to have an ego, that they need to want to score. They need to hunt the glory like a lion. They need to want the glory so badly that they would want it more than even winning itself. That once they can find someone like that, once they can find someone that egotistical, someone that can be an egoist in that degree, then that will be the true striker that will take over everything. Chigiri, hearing this, especially on the side of Isagi, Chigiri would look toward his brother, and his brother's face seems to light up, as if he's greeting and wanting, well, the competition that seemingly lies ahead of them. He's never seen his brother like this. He's never seen him in such a way. His brother seems to be cranked up. Isagi seems to be completely and utterly ready for whatever's to come. And frankly, it's obvious that Isagi wants to be that striker. Yes, he wants to be the best striker alongside his brother. But it seems like this whole thing has flipped on its head. This whole thing has changed for Isagi. And the reason it has is now he has a goal. And his motivations seem to spike endlessly. And there is no reason why Isagi can't reach that goal. He would look toward his brother and tell him that injury or not, that he needs to step through that door with him. But if he steps through that door, he needs to step through with confidence, with a willingness to lose it all. Because without football, what are they anyways? They are brothers. They'll always have that. But their goal has always been to be the greatest. So now this is their chance to prove that they can be and will be the greatest. He walks toward that door, and Chigiri is close to follow, and they walk in, shooting a glare toward Jinpachi Ego, and even Ego can see that those kids mean complete and utter business. They walk through, and they get dressed, ready, and they walk into a building labeled for Team Z. They walk in that building and stand there waiting for everybody to enter, and eventually they wait long enough and everybody is there. Isagi awaits for the screen that's hanging above them, to turn on, and eventually it would, and it would halt all the speaking and talking that everyone's doing at this moment. Everybody would listen, and Jinpachi Ego would explain their first challenge. And this first challenge will immediately throw out somebody faster than your head could spin. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. That's all you got. Very little time. Very little time. And, of course, this would obviously put them all off guard. They're kind of confused. A ball would drop from the sky, and Jinpachi Ego, well, he would say that this is now a game of tag, but a little different. Take the football, hit somebody with it. That means they're it. It will continue until the time runs out, and whoever has the ball last, whoever's been hit last, well, they're it. And they'll be walking home without a chance in hell at becoming Blue Lock's best striker, and not a chance in hell at becoming the greatest striker for Japan's national team. The screen would turn off, the ball would drop, and everybody would begin scrambling. One of the people there by the name of Kira would have the ball, and he would kick it toward a boy by the name of Iragashi. Iragashi would get hit by it, but then immediately would look for a shot himself, trying to hit Kira, trying to hit Isagi, trying to hit Chigiri. No, can't hit it. Whiff, whiff, whiff. He turns around, he sees a boy on the ground sleeping. That boy is named Bachira. One kick to try and get Bachira out, though, would lead to him a foot to the face, smashing it into the boy's face, and Bachira would stand up, but many would kind of tell him that that is not the way to play. But Bachira says there are no rules. The rules were already set, and he can do whatever else he wants, at least theoretically. And just as he says this though, Bachira would grab the ball himself, and he would look for someone to play with, eventually coming across one Isagi. Kicking the ball toward Isagi. Isagi though, instead of, dodging, he looks at the ball, gathers it, and kicks it right back. Bachira smirks as he can see that Isagi is willing to do this dance, willing to play this game. And Chigiri, his brother, would tell him, stop doing this, just dodge it and he'll be out. But Isagi watches as the time slowly but surely runs out. But as he kicks the ball one last time to Bachira, Bachira would look, smirk, and say it was fun as he kicks the ball super hard and curving it toward one Kira, hitting him in the face and saying that they all knew that they wanted to knock out the best. Kira's somehow the best. So he just did them all a favor. Bachira would laugh a bit, but Kira would not be laughing, standing up quickly, but realizing the time was already over. Kira would have nothing else he could do. He steps away as he walks out, knowing his journey in Blue Lock is not only over, but on top of that, his chances of becoming the greatest striker alive and joining Japan's national team is over as well. There's no way for him to do a single thing about it, and his fate was determined literally by one swing of a leg. With that said though, they are now narrowed down to 11 players, and Jinpachi Ego would show up on the screen one more time, explaining what's to happen next. He explains that all of them will team up. Some will betray each other, some will work together, and some will be in sync and will be perfect as tandems. But other times, let's just say, they may crash and burn. This is a team of strikers, but think about how they did it way back in the day. There were no positions. Not until, everybody else decided to make up some meaningless positions, and now there are some. He tells them all that he wishes them good luck, or at least for their sake, he does. Because at the end of the day, they need to figure out what they're truly made of. The screen would turn off, and Isagi would show a grin on his face. He would tell them all that he's excited, that he wants to see what everyone's capable of, what they're all able to do, and he's going to show everyone why he's so much better. Chigiri could see the determination gleaming off his brother, something that he didn't even expect, something that he didn't know was really deep within him. But this would give him motivation to stand beside his brother, motivation to run next to him. The training would begin. They would be in training, working, and honestly trying to figure out how they'll work as a team. But there is no gluing as a team when they're all strangers. They don't know each other, they don't know tendencies, and they don't know what's going to happen next. But at the same time, Isagi tells Chigiri, at least under his breath without anybody noticing, that if all else fails, they play brother ball. They play as a tandem, and they go from there. He tells him this because he has a feeling that everything's going to go crumbling down pretty quickly, especially once everybody sees that ball on that field. Because everybody knows that it's every man for himself, unless you're one of the top two teams out of the teams that they play. The game would finally approach and would finally be there to begin. The game against Team X would begin. Team X would have one by the name of Baro, and Baro would be a freak of nature. But just like expected from Isagi, Isagi watches as everything crumbles. Everybody freaks out, tries to steal the ball from each other, and eventually the ball would pop up. Popping up and giving a chance for one of them to recover it. Baro looks to capitalize on this, but as he tries, one Isagi would come jumping in, tapping it with his toe, putting it out of reach of Baro. Baro would be shocked. He hasn't seen someone that fast ever. Isagi would go running down the field, showing off his insane speed, and everybody thinks that this guy is an absolute trailblazer, that there's no way that anybody can keep up with him in speed. But just as they think this, A determined and motivated Chigiri is sprinting down the other sideline. Defense may not be that big of an issue, at least on the other team, because they're kind of uncoordinated, but Isagi can't get through all three people that are standing in front of him. But one pass, one beautiful curving pass straight to his brother, leads to the easiest goal of their lives. They think to everyone there thinks to themselves that they have a real issue on their hands. Well, Team Z doesn't, but Team X, they really do. Because Isagi and Chigiri, the brotherly duo, seems to be an unstoppable force. Two absolute trailblazers. Well, this is something that no coach, no team would ever want to deal with. And soon, everybody would begin to fall in place. It's as if a shift in power, but more like a shift in skill, would intrigue everybody to follow in line. Isagi down the sideline, Chigiri down the sideline. Bachira with a beautiful pass to one of them. It's as if it's an orchestra. It's as if it's a beautiful song being played, and there is no interrupting it. There is no cutting the cord, and there is no turning down the noise. Score, goal after goal, every single time. Team X doesn't have the coordination to stop it. Bato, he may be strong, he may be fast, but the speed that those two are playing at, and the coordination that is messing up not only him but everyone else there, is limiting his range and limiting the way for him to get inside his way of scoring. Unable to get closer, he's unable to find his own goal. But eventually, he would scrounge one. The Lion would scrounge eventually one goal, scrounging for the carcass maybe of a body that's decaying, because just like the game is already at its peak and the game is already basically over. So he may score a goal, but the game was just a ticking time bomb waiting to pop, because the score would end up being 4-1, and Team Z would dominate all the way down the field. They would all celebrate, and it was obvious that they would be in kind of the same realm of, hey, let's work together and let's feed off of these two that we have now, these two trailblazers. Bachira would even buy into this idea as well. I mean, why wouldn't he? They would begin speaking. Some would buy in, some won't. After this game, or after that game that they just played, they have more people buying in than not buying in. Because at the end of the day, they want to win. And if they feel that they could win enough games, they could win all their games with the tandem of Chigiri and Isagi at the forefront, then why not take that chance? Why not let loose and try to use them as a focal point of their offense? Maybe that's just the way to go. They begin to speak that night about what kind of things they can do. What are their skills? What are they capable of? And Isagi says that both him and Chigiri are trailblazers, extremely fast. But Isagi says that he's slower than his brother. And even after the injury, in which everyone is questioning what injury Chigiri went through, but that's beyond the point. But even after the injury, Isagi says that he's still faster than him. And once he breaks off of that mold, once he makes sure that he's over that hurdle of being injured, there will be no stopping his speed. And he's just going to complement his brother even more. They ask Isagi if he's just a worse version of his brother. But Chigiri himself would say that that's just not the case. That his brother, he may not be as fast, but he's far more skilled. The way his mind works for the game and the way he sees the field, it's as if he can sense a goal, as if he can smell one closer and closer as they get there. Ever since they were little, every pass would be perfect when they're around the goal. It's as if he can sense him across the field, as if he can pinpoint where the goal needs to be or where the ball needs to be for every goal to be perfect. In hearing this, everyone is pretty shocked to hear this, but at the same time, Bachira brings up that his skill is dribbling, or his weapon is dribbling. Kunigami is a mid-range absolute assassin, someone that can shoot the ball from mid-range and pretty deep ranges in general. Gagamaru says that his is athleticism, and it seems like they have a bunch of things covered. We're talking about a combination of two absolute trailblazers, someone that can see the field really well. Bachira, whose dribbling is amazing, but his passing is just as good, or maybe a little bit worse. But with Kunigami as well, they won't even see him coming. He'll be in the shadows while the two trailblazers set the field on fire. Kunigami will be hiding behind the smoke and would be able to score goal after goal. At least that's their thought, and that's what they train to do. The next game would be against Team Y. Team Y would be an interesting case. Quickly, they would see that they're kind of trying to set something up, trying to set up a play between Okawa and Nico. But the issue with trying to set up a play between Okawa and Nico is they're relying on one thing and one thing only. Well, I guess two things. An opening, but also speed. They're relying on an opening and speed because they know Nico can make the pass. But the speed of Okawa, let's just say, that's not good enough. Not even close. Because Chigiri can run him down like an absolute maniac, and he'll set this field on fire when they try to pull some BS like that. Stealing the ball off of the first pass from Nico, Isagi is ready to set up their play as he would get the ball from his brother, speeding down the field, looking toward the edge. As Chigiri himself draws so many defenders, he kicks it toward the middle of the field, and as he does, Bachira is there waiting, ready to set up a pass for a waiting Kunigami, hiding behind the smoke as he's ready to come out, kick the ball, and score the goal. Putting them up 1-0. Well, let's just say Nico's team is not in good order, is not in a spot that they truly want to be in. They see that they're at a massive disadvantage, and quickly they would realize that their massive disadvantage may crumble even further. Because when they try to push further down the field, the speed of Chigiri and Isagi, and the way Isagi sees the field and can react to Nico's movements, at least to a certain degree, is absolute pandemonium. It seems that Nico is just unable to do anything and unable to get up the field himself to look for a goal as well. Okawa being matched in speed, if not overtaken, it seems like they're just playing for a low score loss, or on the off chance they can score one more goal, maybe they can play for a tie. But quickly they would realize that's not going to happen, because Isagi would be on Nico like glue, stealing the ball from him and looking for a goal himself as he scores, smelling the goal not from not far away, and they continue to have this success over and over and over again. Chigiri, Isagi, Bachira, Kunigami, they continue to feed each other, and they would run up the score, and quickly it would be obvious there was no chance that Team Y was winning this match. There was no chance that they were going to win right here and right now. Isagi and Chigiri would celebrate with their team with another match down 2-0. If they get a third, it's over. They've qualified for the next selection, and the last game will just be formality. Their third game to guarantee them a spot in the next selection, well, let's just say it'll be storybook. Absolute perfection. But the reason why it's storybook and absolute perfection is because it's against the Wanama twins. The Wanama twins versus the Chigiri brothers. Brothers versus brothers. But there's a difference. A big difference between the Chigiri brothers and the Wanama brothers. The difference is that they're not playing on their own. The Chigiri brothers, Isagi and Chigiri, are not playing like a tandem, at least isolated, like the Wanama twins, and how they know they will play. Because Isagi and Chigiri may have an ego, but their egos don't cloud them from the end goal that they are fighting for, the end goal that they are hunting. Just like a lion that hunts down its prey, they know when there are weaknesses to themselves and advantages to hunting in a pack. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Team Y or Team Z versus Team W. That is going to be a battle between two sets of brothers. But how can the Wanama twins keep up with the additions of Bachira, Kunigami, Gagamaru, and many others? Have they been synced up with their team as much as the Chigiri brothers have been? Well, you'll have to find out on the second part, or part 2, of What If Isagi Was Chigiri's Brother. Isagi and Chigiri. Those two are going to take on this team together. Team W is a threat to basically beating this team, but it's not for the fact that they're skilled or more skilled than both Isagi and Chigiri. It's for the fact that Chigiri and Isagi are going against two people that have mentally tortured them for a long time. Isagi and Chigiri have been taking on and going against the Wanama twins most of their life. And, well, they even dragged down Chigiri mentally in terms of the injury that Chigiri went through. His brother, of course, would have his back and obviously kind of have his side in terms of getting him better, getting him stronger, getting him faster, and all the above. But the issue is, it's not that simple. Isagi and Chigiri obviously went through their mental hurdles in terms of the Wanama twins. So when they step out on that field, when they step out one last time against the Wanama twins, or at least one last time from what they believe, they want absolute revenge. They want to take down the Wanama twins. They want to embarrass the Wanama twins. They want to make sure that the Wanama twins know exactly what they're capable of, and what exactly how far behind they truly are in terms of being behind Isagi and Chigiri. And that is exactly what they're going to do. Isagi takes them on with Chigiri by his side, and it seems like there's no fear in sight. There's no fear of losing to these people. And the main reason for that, well, it's because he knows and they know that this will be a match that is far different than anyone they've had in the past. Because this time around, well, their team is built up of people that are ready to basically fight together and fight and play to another level. This is no longer just a football game. This is no longer some normal soccer game. This is the furthest thing from that. They're no longer taking this lightly. It's no longer a friendly little game of football. No, this is so much more, so much different than it's ever been in the past. And that's exactly what they're showing, and exactly what they show on kickoff. On kickoff, they begin to absolutely outclass and dismantle the Wanama twins team, because the only people that they have necessarily are the Wanama twins themselves. And frankly, yes, the Wanama twins are talented. Yes, the Wanama twins are very good, but at the end of the day, they can't do it on their own. And that's just the fact of the matter. They can't do it all by themselves. When the Wanama twins try and do just that, try and keep up with Isagi and Chigiri, try to keep up with the speed that the duo has, the brotherly duo have, let's just say that doesn't go too well. It begins to fall to pieces quicker than you can possibly imagine, and Isagi and Chigiri begin to absolutely embarrass their team. Absolutely embarrass the team of the Wanama twins, and there's no stopping them. Not now, not ever. The combination of Isagi, Bachira, and, well, many others continue just absolutely running wild. Absolutely just doing insane things. And the insane things would continue on, especially with the help of Bachira. Bachira would set up goals for the speedsters in Isagi and Chigiri, and on top of that, their speed would allow them to be open in so many different ways that many others wouldn't be expecting, and ways that on the field it seems like it's impossible. And there's even question marks on how they were even able to do that. Isagi, though, can see the field in such a special way that he's in position to score goals better than anybody could possibly imagine. He's in position to set himself up, even set up Chigiri for future goals, depending on his positioning. And that just continues on throughout this time entirely. Isagi continues to set up Chigiri, or set up his brother, over and over and over again. And it just makes for a spectacle to see. A absolute masterclass, you could call it. And that masterclass would just continue on. It would be simple, it would be basic, but at the same time, it would be absolute domination. And that's what's going on. That's what's happening. And it's funny because the Wanama twins stand there in complete and utter shock, thinking that, well, they even had a chance in this game in the first place. Isagi and Chigiri would run up the score, one after another, goal after goal, even getting people like Kunigami involved, of course, and the goals would be set up beautifully. Chigiri would show off a version of himself even faster than the one before, and his ball control and his vision for the game with his brother on his side becomes even better throughout this time, becomes even greater. Everybody sees things even better and even greater throughout it, and Chigiri with kind of leaning on his brother, the crutch that he needed to walk again, to run again. He leans on his brother, and it excels his play even further, excelling his play to a realm that they didn't even know was possible, excelling it beyond any doubt, any possibility, any way that anybody could even fathom. And they would show the Wanama twins exactly how far behind they truly were, or how far behind they truly are. The Wanama twins would losing 5-0 or 5-0, and, well, Isagi would watch as the disappointment would overwhelm the faces of the Wanama twins themselves. Isagi wouldn't feel a need to apologize, wouldn't feel a need to say, oh, I hope you guys get him next time, or he feels bad. I mean, he has his brother's back to the very end. He has his brother's back so much so that he feels that these people, frankly, they deserved it. They deserved what they got coming to them, and frankly, that's exactly what they got. They got what they need, or they got what they deserved, and that's the end of it. They don't deserve anything outside of what just happened. In which, that's the fact of it at the end of the day. And frankly, that's just how Isagi feels. Isagi's extremely protective over Chigiri. Extremely protective. I mean, that is his brother, and at the end of the day, you always will protect your brother. Yes, he might be age difference might not be that crazy. They're pretty close in age, but Isagi still sees him like as if he's the little brother, the brother that needs to be protected, the brother that needs to be protected from these horrible people that are trying to more or less say that he'll never be the same as he once was. But he will be. He'll be even better though than the person he once was. And this game, that's what proved it. This game proved just that. And this game guaranteed their slot into the second selection. Everybody would celebrate. Everybody would be happy. I mean, come on. I mean, they have guaranteed their slot into the next part of this whole blue lock thing. And frankly, it was pretty intense. They feel that there were a lot of things they could have done better, but a lot of things that they did right, and a lot of things that they have excelled at and continue to excel at. And Isagi is happy about that, happy to see just that. And, well, the fourth game really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But it would matter to Isagi, and eventually it would drastically matter to him when he meets the people that are on that other team. On that other team, the team of Team V would have the one and only Sejuro Nagi. Nagi is someone that is an absolute dynamic force on the field, but there's something about Nagi, something about him that Isagi, well, he doesn't like very much. And that one thing, well, let's just say it's because Nagi acts like the game of football is a joke. He finds it to be boring, that he doesn't even really want to be here, that he was forced to be here in the first place, and that he'd rather just go home and sleep. This definitely rubs Isagi the wrong way. His love for football is what keeps him and his brother connected, and his love for football continues to basically give him the want to get better and get greater and continue on this path throughout Blue Lock. So hearing this definitely puts Isagi off, definitely makes him feel some type of way, and definitely makes him feel as if he wants to smash that kid into the ground, destroy him, and leave him no doubt that he should just leave, that he should just walk away. And this is something that Isagi has never felt about, or never felt in general, and it's just this true want to just destroy somebody. Yes, he hated the Wanama twins. He didn't like them at all. He wanted to destroy them, but that felt warranted. This feels like a new version of that. Not necessarily that it's not warranted, but more that he's never been around someone that's gotten him this angry, this frustrated, and this annoyed. At the end of the day, these people are saying things, well, like that they don't like football, that it's boring, that they would rather do this or that, or rather go home and sleep. This is something that does not rub Isagi the right way. So when they step on that field against Team V, the Chigiri brothers would go to work. Quickly, Isagi would move up the field, and he would find a pass to Chigiri. Chigiri would immediately bounce it back to him, but he would let the ball fly by, right to Bachira, as Bachira fakes a pass, dribbled past one another, and Zentetsu would come in as a blaze of glory, trying to basically make up for the defense that they're lacking at this moment. But quickly, a beautiful lob pass would soar toward Kunigami as he kicks it, and he would score immediately, putting them up 1-0. And of course, Nagi would want to answer, especially with Reo on his side. A deep pass toward Nagi with ball control that is insane. He would jump up in the sky, stopping the ball with his foot with relative ease. He would turn toward the goal, looking for a goal himself, but quickly, a speed demon, Isagi, would come blazing out of nowhere, reading where the ball was going to go. He would tap the ball, and as he kicks it away, one of their teammates of Team Z would gather it themselves, kicking it up the field and continuing their high-paced and high-speed gameplay. They would continue to push the field, push the pace, and just push the field in general, pushing up the field as quick as possible. And this would make things extremely easy. Isagi would look quickly for a goal himself, as Chigiri would pass it to him, and he would easily get by the defenses because Zentetsu has to deal with two people that are extremely fast. Chigiri might be the faster of the two, but the fact is, Isagi is still faster than everyone on the field, excluding Chigiri and Zentetsu. They are more similar in terms of, well, how fast all three of them are. But the gap between those three and everyone else is so great that it feels like they're on a whole nother playing field. And the defense of Team V would continue to just utterly collapse and disintegrate. their defense would be exposed so badly that Rayo feels like they have to pick up the pace on offense extremely fast, in which they would do. They would put up a goal themselves, Nagi even stepping it up and evolving even further, finding a goal on his way to the, obviously on his way down the field. But if the game is just out of reach, Isagi's team and the pace is tiring out the other team, and it's obvious that the work ethic and also the pace that Isagi puts on people is just too much for this team to handle. And Isagi's vision, and now developing vision more and more, is too much for Team V to even kind of comprehend. And everything kind of begins to crumble around them slowly but surely. Eventually, though, Isagi and Chigiri and Team Z would come out victorious, ending this selection 4-0, which would be absolute insanity. Defeating every single person there, or every single team there, passing on to the next selection, but Team V would also pass as well. Even though they did lose here, they would pick up a couple goals, and on top of that, they were 3-1, only losing to Isagi's team. So they did qualify for the next part, and that would be transparently obvious. But still, Isagi wouldn't take it lightly and would want to make sure that these people that he plays against, like Nagi and Rayo, understand that he is the gatekeeper of football now, and he's going to make sure that they understand that if they don't enjoy it here, they might as well leave now. But even after that game, Nagi would walk over toward Isagi and kind of tell him that he's sorry in his own Nagi way, and would be excited to see him in the future, and he hopes that they can play together soon. In which Isagi would kind of shrug this off because, I mean, that's kind of, they don't know what's going to happen next, so how would anything really even happen? But he kind of says that he hopes to play against him soon once again, and hopes that maybe next time he'll be better. And after that, they all celebrate, getting some better food, hanging out, and just overall just being happy about their accomplishments. But of course, Jinpachi Ego would eventually turn up on the screen and would begin explaining to them what's going to happen next. And what's going to happen next is pretty simple. For one, they're done with this selection, like he said. Next, they're going to be working out, getting better, getting stronger, getting faster. They're all going to be training, and once that training is over, they have the first part of the second selection, and they'll be interested in that when it happens. After the training, and after all of it is said and done, they finally arrive. They arrive at the first part of the second selection, and it's a solo part of the selection, so the Chigiri brothers are separated. Isagi is all alone, but he's going against a holographic goalkeeper by the name of Blue Lock Man. He takes on Blue Lock Man, and he begins to try to score goals as quick as possible. His speed definitely allows him to get better angles to score goals, and his vision and his ability to use his direct shots, and also his vision and ability to understand the game better than most people, would actually help him in the long run. So these 100 goals in 90 minutes would be a difficult task, but it wouldn't be as gut-wrenching as it would have been any other time he in his life. So when he finishes, he feels good about what he did and feels good about just how good he did it. Of course, it would all be kind of wrapped up. He would finish, walk through those doors, and the defeat of Blue Lock Man would be the start of the true next part of the second selection, and this part would all start with a team up of 3 people. Isagi would look around and not see his brother quite yet, but eventually someone from behind would jump on his back, and it would be Bachira. Bachira would be on his back, kind of moving him around, asking if he wants to team up, and Isagi would kind of be okay with this. He says, yeah, that they have to wait for Chigiri though. But eventually, Nagi would approach and even ask if Isagi wanted to join their team. But Isagi would shake his head, saying that he's not joining the team of Rayo and Nagi, that he doesn't care to even work with them. On top of that, he's waiting for his brother, so why would he join them? In which Nagi would even pull out an ultimatum, saying that they wait for his brother, and then they go in as a trio, Nagi and the Chigiri brothers. In which Isagi wouldn't be too fond of this, He says that Bachira fits their playstyle beautifully, and that the two of them, the Chigiri brothers and also Bachira, will be unstoppable, and they can watch just that. Nagi goes back toward Reo and says that it's not meant for disrespect, but he wanted to see where Isagi's head was at. He wanted to see what he was capable of, in which eventually Nagi would consider, well, even trying to chase after them to defeat them himself, but that's something that he'll think about later on. Eventually, though, Chigiri would exit, and it wouldn't be that much longer after the little conversation they had, and Chigiri would join their team, and they would walk through those doors and ready to take on whatever's to come. But the only team there is the team of Tokimitsu, Rin, and Aru. 3 people that are at the top of the heap in Blue Lock, and Isagi looks at them and then looks back at his team and thinks to himself that if they're going to take on anyone, they should take on this team, because at the end of the day, if you want to be the best, you truly have to beat the best, and that's exactly what they intend to do. Isagi Yoichi, or Isagi, Chigiri, and also Bachira go up against 3 of the best people or best players in Blue Lock: Rin, Tokimitsu, and Aru. They go against the 3 of them, and will their coordination be able to push forward and push past the talent that is in front of them? Well, they're going to find out relatively fast, because they take them on in a blaze of glory. Frankly, there is no in between in terms of going all out. Isagi and Chigiri go completely blazing through the field as fast as possible, trying to more or less misdirect and also show different looks to all 3 of the players on the other team. They would get an early goal, Bachira setting up Isagi for a beautiful goal that he sprinted by, or was easily able to sprint by somebody. But quickly they would realize that this game is far closer than they can possibly imagine, because when Rin sets up a goal himself, kicking it from about halfway across the field, they would stand there in complete shock, not understanding how good Rin really is. With the score now 1-1, it seems as if Isagi's team is looking for another advantage, utilizing their speed and their ability to play off-ball extremely well. It seems like Isagi's team has no problem getting down the field, but quickly Rin begins to read their movement, jumping passing lanes and stealing the ball, setting not only himself up, but Aru up for a goal as well. Quickly, it would be 2-1, and Isagi would look at his brother and look at Bachira, telling them that they need to pick up a pace that is unworldly, a pace that they only can work on and they only can play on. So Isagi tells Bachira that he will be main distributor, and the reason for this is because he wants both of his brother and himself to run absolutely wild, to sprint and play off ball as much as possible, and use their speed to open up passing lanes infinitely. As they begin to try and play the game like this, Isagi and Chigiri begin to open up lanes that were wide open. Even Rin can't keep up, because at the end of the day, he can't guard everybody. Even Tokimitsu, who is pretty fast, but still, he can't even get close to keeping up with the Chigiri brothers, or Chigiri and also Isagi. It's easy for them to get by them, and Bachira sets them up for the easiest goals possible. Rin tries to read off of Bachira, but Bachira is so unorthodox and hard to read, making it extremely difficult for actually Rin to read Bachira and where he wants to pass the ball. This would lead to another goal, putting them tied 2-2. The next goal would matter a lot, especially because Rin's team is looking for a goal themselves to put them at an advantage. But quickly, Isagi and Chigiri would run and bait basically running off and on the ball, trying to switch targets infinitely as much as possible, as if it's just creating a blur. They're not understanding, or even Rin isn't necessarily understanding what they're doing. Rin can't even get a read on who's really open. Rin can't necessarily figure out exactly what they're doing. It seems like they're playing off of each other's speed, so much so that it's almost impossible to keep up with it. And they continue to do this over and over and over again. And it's super distracting for Rin, and Rin can't get a complete nail in the coffin and can't get a complete stop to what they're doing. And this continues to happen, eventually leading to a steal from Chigiri himself, as Chigiri races down the field past everybody and getting a goal, putting them up 3-2. But Rin knows that he needs to start to take over the game, take over whatever he needs to do. So that's exactly what he does. This little speed thing that they were doing defending the ball isn't going to work anymore. Rin begins to read it perfectly and begins to stop it entirely. He begins to kind of see the way they want to play defense, and eventually would bring it to a complete and utter halt, stopping it from actually happening entirely. He actually makes them and forces them to more or less just guard normally, guard relatively similar to how anybody else would guard in a normal field and in a normal way. Isagi sees this and tries to react to it, but even with his understanding of football and his understanding around the ball and his understanding in general of reading the field, it becomes extremely difficult for him to make reads, especially off of Rin. Rin would find his way to the goal once again, and he would scoring, putting them 3-3, tied once again. This tie would obviously put Isagi's team in a weird position, but they would have the advantage, and that would be obvious. But still, even with the advantage, it's still difficult to figure out a way of getting around basically Rin and a big body like Tokumitsu and the height of Aru. It's extremely difficult. So he tries to get around them, but it begins to collapse. Their strategy, all of what they're trying to do, it begins to collapse. And Rin slowly but surely begins to read this, especially with a stamina issue slowing them down slowly but surely. They had the advantage in the beginning, but now their advantage is slowly but surely depleting, and it's definitely affecting them on the field entirely. Isagi tries to find his way to the goal, passing it back to Bachira, as Bachira would use his beautiful dribbling skills to break through some of the defense, looking for Chigiri himself, but Chigiri would whiff and he would miss the ball just barely, as it seems the ball is passed beyond his reach. But it's not necessarily passed beyond its reach, it's at the end of the day because he's getting tired. And the fact is, the way they're utilizing their speed at the moment is draining on all of them, or draining on the two speedsters in Chigiri and also Isagi. It's putting them at a massive disadvantage, and it will continue to do that as long as the game goes longer. Isagi tries to recover, and Rin would immediately steal the ball from him, and he would begin hunting down the field for another goal. But Isagi realizes that he can't rely on his speed. He can't rely just on that solely. So he tries to outthink Rin, utilizing his speed as a factor, but outthink him and utilize his brains and his speed at the same time, putting himself in a decent position, forcing Rin to actually pass and forcing him to be completely distant from the play. And Chigiri would see this as an opening, going for a steal himself, as he basically slides into the ball, stealing it, landing right into Bachira's lap. Bachira would get past Tokumitsu, but Tokumitsu would quickly try his best to recover. But Bachira would look to his left, as it seems that Chigiri has a second wind. Sprinting down the field, he's wide open. One pass, beautiful one as well, and Chigiri's not going to miss a second time. He scores the goal, putting them up 4-3, and this would be their advantage. Now in a position that they didn't think they would be in, and now it seems that Rin is cracking at the seams. It seems as if Rin realizes that Isagi is kind of figuring things out. It may have taken him a little bit, but with the advantage of how fast he is and the way his mind works, it seems like Isagi is slowly but surely putting the pieces together. And that's exactly what he ends up doing. With one lethal attack on defense again, it would eventually lead them to scoring another goal, putting them in a winning spot and winning in general, putting them up 5-3, and that's the game being over. Rin is completely in disbelief, but his disbelief wouldn't last that much longer, because he would be quickly picked up. Because Rin, he's a talented, very talented person, and with the two speedsters on his team, who's telling, or nobody really knows, the potential that is there. They would all head off as Rin is stolen from their team, and quickly Rin realizes how gifted Isagi and Chigiri really are. At the end of the day, he doesn't like the idea of him losing, and he doesn't like the idea of him even admitting to a loss / kind of even trying to work with these people, but he knows now that he needs to work with them if he wants to be the best. They begin training together, scheming and planning and so on and so forth, and eventually, finally, a 4-person team would arrive, and it would be familiar faces: Ryo, Nagi, and also Tokumitsu and Aru. A team of 4 that seemingly is ready to take on the two speedsters, Bachira and Rin Itoshi, but they're really not ready. Nagi may have progressed throughout this time and would be excited to take on the likes of Isagi once again. But Tokumitsu and Aru, they haven't progressed that much, and Ryo, well, let's just say he's a very legitimate weakness on that team. The speed of Chigiri and Isagi sprinting down the field with Rin's technician and his ability to survey, understand, and manipulate the field to his will seemingly puts them at such a massive advantage. Rin would set up goals for Isagi, for Chigiri, and their defense would be absolutely suffocating. And quickly, the other team would realize that there is no stopping this threat. Isagi's team would absolutely obliterate their team. The team chemistry seems to be too good, but it's not even a chemistry thing. It's more or less everyone buying in. And Rin being the main facilitator and Bachira being kind of that offside facilitator, and just an ability to make his own space himself with his dribbling when the ball is in his hands. It's absolutely insane. Rin's team, or Isagi's team, would come up with a win 5-1, easily scraping past and easily obliterating the team that Nagi has, and eventually they would decide on picking up Nagi himself. Because Nagi, at the end of the day, has probably one of the most highest potential thresholds out of everybody on that field at this moment. And that's just the fact of the matter. The 5 of them would now enter into the final stages of the second selection, and the final stage of that second selection would be against, well, the World 5. A 5 versus 5 against the World 5 would put them on the map, especially if they can dominate. And that's all Isagi and Rin can think about, and frankly, they're all convinced that they can do it, that they can show levels that they have gained. And Rin even tells the World 5 that this little sightseeing trip to Japan, well, it's going to be traumatic, that he's going to make sure they suffer in this game. And with their coordination, they would come up with the very first goal, and confidence would be at a sky high. But quickly, the cracks in what they're capable of would show. Their speed would keep them in it, at least Chigiri and Isagi's speed, but there's someone on that other team as well that speed is unholy. That seems to be that it's just unearth-like, that he's an alien. Julian Loki would absolutely cut through them like butter, and he would show exactly what speed is. And yes, Isagi and Chigiri might find a goal for themselves, just one maybe between both of them later on in that game, but still, losing 5-2 would be completely just humiliating. they would get destroyed, cut through, just obliterated. And frankly, they were talking so much smack and trash, or Rin at least was, and for them to lose like that, that's horrendous for them, especially for the mental state of Rin. But after the fact, they realized that they weren't even supposed to win that game, and frankly, who was going to win that game? A 5v5 against some of the best kind of one-on-one players ever in the world is absolutely impossible. So at the end of the day, they may lose that game, but they have so much more to gain very soon. Because when they stand in front of Jinpachi Ego once again, when they stand in front of that giant screen, and Jinpachi Ego says that Blue Lock is in jeopardy, and that taking down the U20 team of Japan is the way for them to stay, let's just say there is no fear in the eyes of the team that just got through. There is no fear in the eyes of the Chigiri brothers and Isagi himself. And frankly, there would never be fear, because they have some of the greatest and most lethal tandems they've ever seen, and even Jinpachi Ego has seen what they're capable of and has seen what they can truly do. And he tells them that he hopes all of them are ready, every last one of them, because this is not only a fight or a game, this is a fight for their lives, a fight for Blue Lock, because once they beat the U20 team, the skies are not only the limit, they can even soar into the stratosphere. But with that said, that's a story for another day and another time. And if you enjoyed the finale of What If Isagi was Chigiri's brother, then show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.